Happy Treason Day, you ungrateful colonials! That obvious joke aside, welcome to BPT, the Bulleid Pacific Trilogy! Yes, July will be the month where I'll do 3 episodes of Loco profiling and this Prelude video on the final fling in steam locomotive design on the Southern Railway of the United Kingdom, the Bulleid Pacifics. You may remember these as also appearing on a top 10 list that I did way back in 2018 of my least favorite UK and US steam engines, but that was a very long time ago. And anyway, let's just get to it. The Bulleid Pacifics were intended as a new class of express passenger locomotives that would redefine the basic concept of the steam locomotive in general, which admittedly has barely changed since the days of Stephenson's rocket. And before you ask, well, technically there are 3 different subclasses, but they were collectively known as Bulleid Pacifics because of the man who designed them, the Southern's final chief mechanical engineer, Oliver Bulleid. In all, there were 140 of these engines built between 1941 and 51 by the Southern Railway workshops at Eastleigh and Brighton. And like I said, they appeared across 3 variants or subclasses. So how were they divided? As followed: 66 West Countries, named after West Country locations and villages. 44 Battle of Britain locomotives, or BOBs as I personally like to abbreviate them, named after various World War II airfields, airplanes, squadrons, military officers, and politicians. And 30 Merchant Navies, named after merchant navy shipping companies. It's also worth pointing out that the merchant navies came first, and they were a little bit bigger and heavier than the other 2 subclasses, which were mechanically identical to each other and collectively known as Light Pacifics. Though of course, it also has to be mentioned that they were introduced right during the height of the Second World War, at a time when building steam locomotives or other types of locomotives that were dedicated to passenger services was being boycotted. This is why Bulleid was only allowed to put these locomotives into production after he redesignated them as mixed traffic or dual service locomotives. As for the tractive effort, that can actually vary somewhat, though most of the related geometry is identical, making my job a bit easier. 280 psi of boiler pressure, at least to begin with. 3 cylinders with a 24-inch piston stroke, and 74-inch driving wheels. The main difference, and thus the deciding factor on the tractive effort, was the cylinder diameter. 18 inches, and thus 37,515 pounds of tractive effort on the merchant navies, versus 16.375 inches, and thus 31,046 pounds of tractive effort on both classes of Light Pacifics. Though later during a special rebuilding program that saw the shape of the locomotive being changed up, the boiler pressure on all 3 classes of Bulleid Pacifics was lowered to 250 psi, which lowered the tractive effort to 33,495 pounds on the merchant navies and 27,720 pounds on the Light Pacifics. But none of that is as much of a talking point compared to all the experimental tech these engines had. Firstly, there was the air-smoothed casing, which earned all Bulleid Pacifics the nickname Spam Cans. Then there were the American-influenced box-buck driving wheels, intended to save weight. They had a welded boiler, doing away with old-fashioned rivets, and as part of that boiler, a steel firebox that was supercharged thanks to the inclusion of thermic siphons. There was also the steam-driven reversing gear, steam-driven firebox doors, and even a steam generator or dynamo for creating electricity on the lights on the locomotive. And of course there was one more innovation, but that needs to be mentioned in one of the actual profiling videos. They were radical and innovative, and to be fair, they did somewhat live up to the dual service claim, as they were decent performance on the occasional freight train, but they could never escape their true duty of being used on passenger trains, particularly mainline expresses, be it with the Southern Railway between 1941 and 47, or after the 1948 merger and nationalization with the Great Western, LMS, and LNER when it became the southern region of British Railways. And they stuck around for quite a long time, serving right up to the end of Southern Region Steam in July of 1967. Apologies if this was a short video, but like I said, you'll get 3 episodes on individual Bulleid Pacific locomotives as compensation, one from each subclass. Episode 22 will be on Merchant Navy Locomotive 35028, Clan Line, which is preserved. Episode 23 will be on West Country Locomotive 34027, Taw Valley, which is also preserved. And according to a voting poll which I did, Episode 24 will unfortunately be on Battle of Britain Locomotive 34066, Spitfire, which wasn't preserved. Which is why Episode 25 will be on the other Bob in that poll, 34067, Tangnir, though it will fall outside the trilogy. I'll see you all in a week's time.